Thousands of anti-Brexit protesters have been gathering in London this Saturday for a demonstration that they've dubbed Rejoin the EU. It comes amid growing calls and several polls which suggest that many see Brexit as a major mistake and want to reintegrate the bloc. Well, a number of high-profile speakers have been attending the event. Organisers have said they want politicians to sit up and take notice of the movement's growing support. We can get more on today's rally in the capital. Benedict Pavio is in London for us. Benedict, walk us through the atmosphere. This has been going on for a while now. Are there still tens of thousands of people out at this protest?
No, because as you join us here in London, a sunny day, it was packed until about half an hour ago. Tens of thousands of people who come from all over the United Kingdom actually converged here in London, in the heart of Westminster, of course near Parliament and moments away from Downing Street, the UKPM's official residence, to make their voices heard, because they think that the mainstream politicians, including therefore the governing Conservative Party and the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, along with the main opposition leader Keir Starmer, are being very silent. And why is it that they're being silent? And indeed also the slightly smaller, quite a bit smaller opposition party, Liberal Democrats, also normally very pro-European, are being quite silent about this. So it was interesting to hear Guy Verhofstadt, the ex-Belgian Prime Minister, say, why delay? And then conclude by saying, we, meaning Brussels, are waiting for you, the rest of the EU. And Gina Miller, the very famous anti-Brexit campaigner, saying this is a fight for the future, and talking about the road and the steps to that future. So joining me now, indeed, to talk about steps, the present and moving into the future, is Sandra Kaduri. Now, she is Director of Keeping Channels Open, which, correct me if I'm wrong, and thank you for joining us here, Sandra, this afternoon. You are British, you've moved to Brussels, you can explain in a moment why. And Keeping Channels Open is particularly, since Brexit, to get British, EU and, I understand, American politicians, but you're cross-party, talking to each other, keeping those important connections.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was very important after Brexit and during the era of Trump that we figured out how to stay connected, because there were many forces driving us apart, fragmenting us, only populist forces. And I think it's important because there are many people that want to stay connected and that are gradually figuring out that they need to stay. They have to in today's world, with so many security and other challenges ahead.
But realistically, despite the huge numbers here today and the eminent speakers and the passion that we saw, it was jam-packed here, and fantastic banners, all ages, actually quite a few also European citizens here. What's the likelihood? We're about to have the annual party conferences here. We're going to have a general election coming down the track. It could be next spring, it could be next autumn, but it's coming fairly soon. How does this movement Rejoin the EU get to be heard? I didn't see very many other broadcasters here today.
Well, I mean, Britain's on a journey. It's been 7 years since the marginal vote for Brexit in the referendum, and now polls show that the majority of people think it was a mistake. But it is still going to take time for them to lobby and to make sure that the government of the day makes the necessary moves to get closer to the EU, because that is what the majority now wants in the UK.
You're absolutely right to underline that. We know that 60% now, and that has been for quite a while, so a comfortable majority of Brits, if they were given the choice again, actually want to rejoin the EU. They regret it. They particularly think there's been a lot of damage made economically, socially, culturally by Brexit. But again, how are you going to get your voices heard? How are you going to get onto that political agenda? That is the issue.
I think it's a very important question. I think we have to tie Britain's current problems to getting closer to the EU. So basically that some of the remedies, some of the solutions will come by joining up and joining forces, whether it's on foreign policy and security issues, which we know we share. We're on the same page on China, on Ukraine, on multiple issues, renewable energy, to the cost of living crisis. And what do we do about that? And improving our trade and removing some of these frictions will help the UK deal with its own internal problems. The UK is on the journey, but so is the European Union. And it is changing all the time as well, due to some of these populist forces and some of these challenges. So when you bring the UK back towards the EU, they're all facing migration issues, for example, economic issues, challenges from Russia. We're going to have to work together to confront those issues.
Briefly, if I may, a last question, and that is the fact that Rishi Sunak clearly has absolutely excluded rejoining the EU. That is not in itself a surprise. But Keir Starmer, the main opposition leader, of course, who could be Prime Minister in within the next 12 months, the Labour Party are well ahead in the polls. They have been for months on months, 20% ahead of the governing Conservatives. He went to meet at the Elysee, the French president, on Tuesday. It is said and been rumoured here that he is secretly discussing a possible rejoining. Is that something that you can place any hope in?
Well, Keir Starmer has a tremendous opportunity now, because obviously he is ahead of the polls, and he also knows that more alignment with the EU in certain areas will really help this country. And so I think we're hoping that he will just manage to connect the dots and actually show the British public why we need to get closer, explain it, why alignment is good for our business, for our economy, of our climate change agenda, and actually demonstrate the whole narrative, the whole picture about why getting closer to the EU is important. So he has an opportunity, and we hope he takes that opportunity.
So today was a step on that path?
Absolutely. No one is stupid here. We know we're not going to rejoin the EU tomorrow. The EU also has to have more confidence in the UK, that we're not going to kind of go back and forth all the time. So we need to win back their trust. But our message today to the Europeans as well is don't give up on us, because most Brits do want a place in the European project, and just be patient and keep the door open for us.
So you heard it here, don't give up on us. That is the message from people here today. It won't happen overnight. It needs preparation. These are going to be steps, and today is a significant step. So Sandra Kaduri from Keeping Channels Open, thank you very much indeed for joining us. A Brit who lives in Brussels and who made it here today. And so we will see what the journey the UK is on, if indeed, whether it's the governing Conservative Party, the Labour Party, or the Liberal Democrats, start to listen to these 60% of Brits who would like to rejoin the EU. Handing back from London over to you in Paris.
Thank you very much, Benedict. Thank you to